So, it's been a long time coming, and finally I've decided to make this video because for far too long I've been relatively silent. I have commented a fair few times, gotten into some Twitter wars, but I've never actually had the chance to make this video. Now, this video is going to split into two parts. Don't worry, it's just that there'll be one topic, and then there will be another topic. And that will be blue chats and accusations of sexual harassment against Dick Coughlan, which I have previously covered in another video, only back then it was just JJ doing the accusations, plus Jenny McDermott. And the second half will be about their descent into madness. So, let me tell you the story of how the not-so-mighty have fallen.
Hello everyone, this is Champion. Damn it, I can't see a thing in this.
So the first thing that comes to mind when I think about all this drama and what's happened is, how the hell has a podcast that isn't known to be social justice become social justice so quickly in such a short amount of time? Now, that is just the thought that mainly sticks in my head with the Dick Coughlan controversy that Blue Chat have gotten themselves into. So without further ado, let's discuss this. So several months back into 2015, the JJ Talks released a video about Dick Coughlan and basically accused him of sexual harassment in said video. Now, doing what JJ does, she did so without any evidence whatsoever. But rather than let me talk for her, let's just see what she has to say about this.
Yeah, he's sexually harassed multiple girls, just in general.
Now, all of this stems from the fact from her previous video about sexual harassment in the social justice community. She talked about how Dick Coughlan apparently was asking around in case it was him. He was just asking, is she on about me? Because bear in mind, she was accusing unknown men of sexual harassment. So whether he did it or not, I don't think one should necessarily attack him for being curious. But that's where that statement comes from. That is why she says that. And her justification for thinking he's been harassing people is because he asked if the video in question was about him. But the video turned out not to be about him anyway, but that's besides the point. And then in the next part, she talks about how he's not just harassed women, but he's also harassed trans women too.
He calls trans women trannies, and he's done this to multiple of my trans friends, and female, like trans women, and has sexually harassed them.
Now, this harassment of trans women first came about from someone called Sophie Speaks, who's actually a long-time friend of Dick Coughlan since before she started transitioning. And she made a video about Dick Coughlan. But in her video, she says that he made her feel uncomfortable, and that is the title of the video. So let's have a look, shall we?
I was watching a video by JJ Talks in the process about Richard Coughlin, and I decided to make this video because I am one of the women who has gone to her and asked her about Richard because Richard has sexually harassed me, or at least he has sent me very sexualized messages and has made me to feel very uncomfortable. And he has also said some things that are kind of awful to me about the fact that I'm transgender.
So, is it sexual harassment, or is it just making you feel uncomfortable? You need to make your mind up, Sophia. So, later on in the video, she brings out her evidence.
We basically say hi to each other, and then he says, I haven't heard from you in a while, darling. Now, Richard, in this conversation, uses terms like sweetie when he says goodbye to me, and he's also used my dear, which, by the way, he can still call himself a feminist because he didn't milady me. You know, that's different. It's much better, right? but he uses terms like that. Now, this sends up red flags for me.
Well, I mean, he called you sweetie and me dear, but not me lady. Now, looking at those tweets, one would assume that there's nothing particularly harassing about those tweets. All he's doing is trying to catch up with an old friend he hasn't talked to for a long time. At least, that is what a normal person would gather from those texts. And no, before the SJW start jumping down my throat, I am not talking about normal in terms of cisgender, transgender. I'm talking about, in your head, knowing what it is like to talk to other people. I'm talking about social interaction. A normal person would not see that as a threat or a red flag, as she said. And she goes on later to show more texts.
Shortly afterwards, after I said that, I'm busy, that's why I haven't been online, he says, well, you are a lot of things when we talked last, and has a wink face. Now, that just made me feel incredibly uncomfortable, because I already feel like he's hitting on me, because he's using terms like darling, and sweetie, and my dear. He's using these terms, and he's putting a winky face emoji and commenting on the fact that I'm out as a transgender woman. Which, by the way, that comment was pretty kind of transphobic.
Well, that totally wasn't unhinged at all and not completely crazy. I don't know how he even was remotely transphobic there. I don't know how he was even hitting on her, despite using a wink face, because, as I've already demonstrated, she seems to have pretty limited social skills as it is. Now, a lot of these things can be misread by even people who have good social skills, but usually all this can be sorted out like adults, but instead, she's going the crybaby child route and throwing it out all on Twitter saying, he's an harasser, he's hitting on me. I, for one, do not buy that he's hitting on you there. I think, if anything, he's trying to tell a joke and hoping that you, as his long-term friend, would be laughing. But no, because you're Sophia Speaks, and because you're a bit crazy, you take this completely wrong way and think that he's harassing you and hitting on you, which he isn't. Because yes, as she mentioned, using those terms therefore means he's hitting on her. Let's delve into that, shall we?
Or people who are already in an intimate relationship, like there's already established intimacy and familiarity, or it's a term used amongst like female friends. Like I have several female friends who call me sweetie, but it's not used in a sexualized manner. It's used among female friends towards each other. I've never seen a male colleague of mine use a term like that to talk to me or to talk to other women unless they're hitting on them. Those are terms that usually are used in a sexualized context when it comes to sweetie. I've really only seen it being used by people who are street harassing women or trying to hit on women. Same thing with darling. And before Richard uses the excuse he used to me that it's a UK thing, it's not. And here's how I know it's not. The school where I go to is an internationally accredited business school, and I'm going there for international business. I am one of the few people in my class that is actually American. I am one of the few people in there that was born in the United States and lived the majority of their life in the United States. So I'm used to dealing with people from different cultures, from different religions, different language skills. I've never seen someone sit there and assume they have that level of intimacy unless they're trying to hit on me.
So, in Sophia's experience, these words are only used when a man is hitting on another woman. Never mind the fact that lesbians may also do this to women, but no, only a man. When a straight man does it, like Dick Coughlan, I assume he's straight, I could be wrong, he's hitting on them. You do realise he's straight, right? He's not going to be into trans people. He's doing this because we do this in Britain. You may think that because you go to an international school of business that nobody does it. Because you're with people other than native English speakers, or maybe the British people you speak to don't use those terms. But the fact of the matter is, in places where I and Coughlin come from, people use those terms all the time and are not hitting on anyone. It's just a term of endearment. That's what he's doing. Like he explained, unlike Coughlin, I don't use sweetie, I use the term love. Loads of people have seen me use the word love, and I don't even mean it in a sexually aggressive, trying to hit on manner. I'm calling it to feminists that I think are very unattractive. So you're wrong there, you're judging him and saying that, oh, he's just using that as an excuse. I know British people, I know how British people speak, they don't speak like that. Yes, they do, actually. In the South, they'll say sweetie more than love, although it depends really where you come from. But yeah, he's right. He's not hitting on you. He's being your friend. And you're just genuinely, you're not even twisting it. You genuinely think he's harassing you. And he's not. He's not. But because there's something in your head that makes you think that everyone is against you when they say these words, and you don't seem to have a very limited social capacity anyway, you're freaking out. So in Sophia's experience, these words are only used when a man is hitting on another woman. Never mind the fact that lesbians may also do this to women, but no, only a man. When a straight man does it, like Dick Coughlan, I assume he's straight, I could be wrong, he's hitting on them. You do realise he's straight, right? He's not going to be into trans people. He's doing this because we do this in Britain. You may think that because you go to an international school of business that nobody does it, because you're with people other than native English speakers, or maybe the British people you speak to don't use those terms. But the fact of the matter is, in places where I and Coughlin come from, people use those terms all the time and are not hitting on anyone. It's just a term of endearment. That's what he's doing. Like he explained, unlike Coughlin, I don't use sweetie, I use the term love. Loads of people have seen me use the word love, and I don't even mean it in a sexually aggressive, trying to hit on manner. I'm calling it to feminists that I think are very unattractive. So you're wrong there, you're judging him and saying that, oh, he's just using that as an excuse. I know British people, I know how British people speak, they don't speak like that. Yes, they do, actually. In the South, they'll say sweetie more than love, although it depends really where you come from. But yeah, he's right. He's not hitting on you, he's being your friend. And you're just genuinely, you're not even twisting it. You genuinely think he's harassing you, and he's not. He's not. But because there's something in your head that makes you think that everyone is against you when they say these words, and you don't seem to have a very limited social capacity anyway, you're freaking out. Anyway, in a frequent pattern of events, in 2 videos in fact, one by Jenny McDermott, and again in this video by Sophia Speaks, they continue the conversation, and they even say that, yeah, we'll talk to you later, when they know damn well they don't want to talk to him for whatever reason. Which just makes me wonder, are these people children, or are they just dumb? Because why the hell are they doing this? They know they don't want to talk to him, so rather than just say goodbye, or no, I'm very busy, I'm just going to go home. Let's just see what Sophia has to say.
And, he continues on this conversation, and he says goodnight to me, calls me sweetie, and wants to Skype with me. Now, I did not want to Skype with him, and I actually said yes to this, knowing full well that I actually couldn't do it.
So why did you say you could make it when you knew you couldn't do it? Why couldn't you just be honest with him and say, this is a very uncomfortable conversation for me, I don't want to talk to you? Or you could have just said, what you're saying is incredibly offensive, but instead, you said, yeah, I'll talk to you later, don't worry about it, rather than being honest. That doesn't make much sense, Sophia. And again, Jenny does it too in another video that we'll get to. God damn these people.
But he sits there and, tells me I'm free all night. And then I basically explain to him that, hey, I'd fallen asleep and I'm not comfortable talking to you.
Well done. You did an adult thing. A smart thing, for once.
And he immediately goes into this mode of saying, I'm sorry I offended you. He calls me mate and then says mate and sir are terms he uses for men when talking to men. So I guess I'm a man now, after he calls me terms that he uses for women, which he says are sweetie and darling.
As usual, apologising to an SJW simply does not work. Just doesn't work. Because it's not good enough, and they're far too insane to warrant one, because it's never good enough. So he falls into the trap of trying to explain, because he's trying to work out as well what pronouns he can use, because obviously he can't use sweetie and dear. So he says, well, this is how it works for me. I call all women sweetie and dear, and I call men sir and mister, blah blah blah, like I used to call you. But he's still evil because he said the wrong pronouns, because she's insane. I think the moment he saw that from her, he, like Heisenberg said, he should have just ran for the hills, and just never talk to her again, because it's clear she's unstable, she doesn't know how to approach these things socially, and he's better off just waiting until maybe she calms down and maybe comes to terms with things. I don't know. But this has already come back to haunt him, because now she's using it against him. I mean, he didn't call her a man. He's just explaining how he uses pronouns, but she'll twist it. She'll twist it to make it against him. And this is a common theme. He'll have his words twisted, and usually it's a conversation used to discredit him by these people. And Jenny is another one that I mentioned before. But anyway, back to JJ. Now, in true JJ style, whenever she makes an accusation about something to do with sexual harassment or anything like that, take your pick, there's never any evidence. And this is an explanation as to why she couldn't have any evidence whatsoever.
Like, because everyone's gonna sit here and go, give me some evidence. And this is why I didn't say names in my fucking video. Because everyone here is gonna go, I need some fucking evidence. Which, you know, I get it fine. But here's the thing. I cannot give you that because he will know who told me.
So the only reason she won't redact the names of all these people unless they come forward themselves, as Sophia Speaks had done so, she is scared that he will somehow find out who it was that is the witness and the evidence, and he will come after them. He'll be really angry and annoyed. I just don't buy that. I call bullshit. How would you know who it is? How could he possibly know who it is if you don't tell him who it is? We don't need to know who it is, just as long as the evidence is there. Speaking of evidence, let's take a look at Jenny and Blue Chat, shall we? Now, this is fast forwarding several months when it wasn't even relevant anymore. Then it suddenly became relevant because Dick Coughlan happened to have done a stream on the 28th of December which forced JJ and her Blue Chat minions to make another stream about his stream. And in it, we finally get the evidence of Dick Coughlan harassing women. Let's take a look.
I have never come out and said 100% I was sexually harassed by him. I said, I don't know.
So yes, Jenny McDermott, people. But this is one of the few places where I can actually get the chat logs I need, which is what Blue Chat have been using to show for absolute certainty that Dick Coughlan is harassing people. Jenny McDermott, of all people. The same Jenny McDermott that has a feud with JJ. They don't like each other. In the same video, she was dissing on JJ and then dissed on Coughlin, by the way. But that's besides the point. In this little thing that I just noticed, she says that she never 100% came out and said that he harassed her. Isn't that weird? And isn't it funny that all this shit that's being levelled at Coughlin comes from conversations he has with other people rather than actual things he did? Because nothing has actually been shown. There's been no absolute definitive proof that he has actually harassed anyone. It's just two really bad conversations that have made both parties uncomfortable at the end of the day, but not actually harassed her. Yet this is the number one piece of evidence that Grey Knight and all the rest of them have been saying is the evidence that proves that Dick Coughlan has been harassing people.
But I do know that he regularly messages girls in this manner. And I do know that he got as far as he did with me because of his clout. Because he's a well-known YouTuber. And I had like 500 subs and no one knew who the fuck I was. So that's how he got away with this.
Keep all of what she said just then in mind, people.
Okay, so here's how it starts. Dick Coughlan, I started poking you slowly, but now the speed, pace, and rhythm of my poking has really up quickly. I don't know about you, but if that isn't the least subtle sexual innuendo you ever heard, I will go live as a monk for my life. And I said, I've been aching for a proper poking. I'm eternally grateful. This is also how I started to combat sexist conversation in this community. Like I don't know if you guys remember, but I had a really sexual profile picture for a while. I was gonna just like own it and be like, I'm pro-sex, like sex positive. Like I had like a corset on and you could see like my tits. And I was like, I'm just gonna own that shit. And if guys wanna try to talk to me, I'm gonna meet them at their level and be like, no, I'll say the sexy stuff, and then I'll scare them, and then they'll leave me alone. That was basically my goal at the time. So, me saying I've been aching for a proper poking, I really wasn't. I just said it. I thought he was being inappropriate, and I wanted to keep his ear because he was a big YouTuber, so I didn't say he was being inappropriate. I just went along with it.
Like Hazenberg before me, did I mishear that? Did I really just hear what I think I heard? I'm not sure if that computes. She did this because he's a big YouTuber. She had a very small amount of subs on her YouTube channel, so therefore she's going to put up with this uncomfortable situation that she found herself in, even though full well she knew she didn't have to deal with this, she didn't have to put up with it. She just thought, well, I could get subs out of this, so I'm just gonna, put up with it. I'm just gonna talk to him and flirt with him, despite the fact that she apparently didn't feel like flirting at all. She found it very uncomfortable. But if you actually read those tweets, if you pause it and read them without her commentary over it, I think the actual tone of it comes out very easily. She's lying, as she usually does. Using smileys like that, the way they're talking, they're just flirting. And at the moment there, it seems like everything's okay, at least for Coughlin. And as far as I can tell, she didn't care until things started to get a bit too much later on.
He says, eternally? Well, I must have been on top from form to unlock that achievement. I'm not sure why you're aching for one, though. A woman who looks like you should be fighting the men off with a stick. And I said, maybe in the lands of ones and zeros, meaning like maybe with internet nerds I'm cute, but not in the real world.
Slightly too self-deprecating there to be trying to truly get in your pants, that he's trying to harass you. If he's willing to take the piss out of himself, I doubt he's trying to harass you. And I doubt any of this at the moment looks like sufficient evidence. Hell, even Sophia Speaks is sufficient evidence for a man who's apparently been sexually harassing, when we know damn well that these people will take anything out of context, anything the wrong way, because that's just the way they are. There's no other reason. Perhaps maybe they don't like the person, so maybe they're trying to ruin them in some way. We have seen this happen. Besides, nowhere in the logs is there any mention of him saying, hey, if you flirt with me and turn me on, I might give you a shout out. I might do a video saying, hey everyone, go and check out Jenny McDermott's channel. She's really awesome and fantastic, and you also check her out if you like social justice and feminism, eh? None of that at all. So, to rip off Hazenberg, let's just go to the end and see how all this panned out. Sorry Hazy, I don't mean to rip you off, but all your quotes are the same as mine, and I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. So here we are, here is the chat log at the end, and this is what Dick has to say. Really? You're not just saying that to keep me at bay, are you? Because if you're not comfortable at any point, I want you to say. Then Jenny says, well, we should stop, but I am flattered. Dick says, you said should, you didn't say stop. Saying we should is you not being sure, but also curious. And if you need me to give a nice good flattering to you, then don't hesitate to ask. And then Jenny says, haha, okay, let's stop the dirty stuff. I really mean what I said about BA. Okay, Dick said. Sorry, if I get a bit overreached there. Respect for boundaries restored. So, how well do you know BA outside of YouTube? BA is Bewildered Ape. Basically, Jenny was feeling bad about flirting with Dick Coughlan because she thought she was betraying Bewildered Ape, as horrible and disgusting as that sounds. I would much rather have sex with a snail than hear about that stuff. Ugh. So this is apparently their best evidence. The best evidence they've possibly got against Dick Coughlan. Right. And all we have is a chat between Jenny McDermott and Dick Coughlan, where it's a bit awkward. It shows that he has terrible flirting skills, at worst. Yet, he completely respects her, and he stops flirting immediately afterwards, when she says, yeah, we need to stop. So, how the hell is he in the wrong here? If anything, she is in the wrong for leading him on, because she wanted the subs, she says. If this is the best they've got, Blue Chat, if this is the best they've got, then wow, I'd love to see this stand in a court of law. I really would.
These people in Blue Chat, 2 of them. One helped dox me, one helped dox Ape. Fuck those guys. These are who JJ is associating with. She wants to be friends with these guys that doxed us. These are the people that are calling Laughing Witch a fraud. She wants to be friends with those people.
Apart from the obvious lie that Blue Chat members, 2 of them, don't know who they are. I assume none of them are members anyway, because I think the one that she may be referring to is Agent of Doubt, who isn't actually a member of Blue Chat, funnily enough, doxed her and Bewildered Ape. This may be an anti-Blue Chat video, but let's just get the facts right. Secondly, of course, this is the difference between what Blue Chat and Jenny just did then and the Laughing Witch thing. Now, with Laughing Witch, we know damn well that she doxed herself. She filmed herself sending the letter to Thunderfoot's employees. The email, obviously, but it's a letter. Doesn't matter, does it? Showing her address. That's how people found where she lived. If she didn't do that, nobody would know where she lived. She wouldn't have been doxed. And we had tangible proof that she doxed herself. Well, we even have tangible proof that her and that lot, not Blue Chat, have been doxing other people and false flagging them. But that's besides the point. The point is that is credible evidence. The fact we have the fact that Laughing Witch did all these things and that the SJW clique did all these things. But Blue Chat, just like the empty accusation that Jenny labelled at 2 of their own members, have no credible evidence whatsoever. They have none at all. None of this is credible. They're just 2 very, very awkward conversations between Coughlin and 2 people who are just insane. Okay? They're just insane. That's all they've got. And it's not enough. And yet their retort to this is, well, Coughlin didn't show any evidence. Since when did the accused have to show evidence that they were innocent? Surely the burden of proof is on the accuser and not the accused. I thought this was how it worked. Now, there's been different kinds of accusations of sexual harassment towards Dick Coughlan. There's been the aforementioned conversations, which somehow prove he's harassing trans women and normal women. And then we've got this other accusation, where apparently he sent a dick pic to someone, and he was also apparently being a bit uncomfortable and harassing this minor who he claims is 18, but that's besides the point. All of this is groundless. There's no evidence that he ever did any of this. Nobody has come forth apart from Sophia Speaks and Jenny McDermott half kind of coming forward. And Sophia Speaks obviously got the wrong end of the stick there. He didn't mean what she thought he meant. But then all of this ends up into what Coughlin later describes as this.
And this is what annoys me about this whole thing is when after this all died down, you know, this whole thing died down, and I sort of get back into YouTube a bit, and I'm wondering, like, she's appearing on all these hangouts and stuff. She's on the Breakfast Club, and it's their business, right? But I'm sat here going, did anyone not see what just happened? I just spent a day where I was falsely accused on purpose of 7 different crimes committing acts of sexual abuse against women, and 1 against a 3-year-old child.
We already talked about this. I like the beginning of the show. If anybody's joining late, the 3-year-old child thing. No idea what he's talking about.
I have none either. That's the first time I've heard
to have any idea what he was talking about.
Okay. So.
Fucking knows. But one interesting thing is that these 7 separate accusations, you know, that not counting the 3-year-old, the 3-month-old,
okay,
whatever the fuck is, whatever. Yeah. Anyway, discounting that one, the 7 other ones, it's not like JJ is the one who's manufactured or even manufactures the wrong word, who's produced or pushed forward, presented these different charges. Like, these are 6 or 7 different, you know, completely different accounts from different people all across the internet, and JJ's only involvement in it is that she's been like, huh, that's interesting, or, you know, gee, I hope you're okay, like, just basically communicating with this other person on some level. I've been corrected by the chat. It was actually a 3-day-old. So here we go.
And this woman,
It's gonna be a 3.
taken away.
Yeah, we waited around long enough.
And she
to be a
claims
3-year-old, but sorry.
So this is what happens when your accusations are groundless. Things escalate and exaggerate, and Chinese whispers are performed, basically. Now, I could go on and on about this, but I think we've reached our journey's end for this part. So, as you can clearly see here, Blue Chat have started, in this part at least, the process towards full social justice mania. They have begun the customary false allegations without evidence. They are listening and believing. They listened and believed JJ for reasons I do not know. It could well be they want her on the show for subs. They could just be doing it because they like her. You do not know. I cannot read their minds. Nobody knows. But they have their reasons. But look what it has done. It has started their downfall. This is the worst thing that could possibly happen to a podcast that claims to be rational and against social justice warriors. So, tune in next time, people, for part 2.